Spain lifts the FIFA World Cup trophy. Hi there, it's Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with stories about current events and trending topics. Today's episode is about the World Cup. Congratulations to Spain. They won last Sunday's final by a score of 1-0. Today's story takes a look back at that game and the tournament that preceded it. This is episode number 885 of Plain English on Monday, July 27th, 2026. The full story is at plainenglish.com/885. That is thanks to JR, the producer. This is a long episode, so let's dive right in. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. When the 2026 World Cup final game kicked off on July 19th, the table was set for an evenly matched final. Spain hadn't allowed a goal for the whole tournament and seemed to have the most complete roster. But Argentina had come from behind magic and the soccer god known as Lionel Messi. But in every respect other than the score, the final game was lopsided. Spain controlled the ball 68% of the time. It launched 16 goal attempts, while Argentina managed just one, and that came in the 117th minute. Lionel Messi didn't touch the ball at all for 15 minutes after the opening kickoff. The only reason this wasn't a blowout victory was Argentina's goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez. He kept his team in the game with a World Cup Finals record 10 saves. After 90 minutes, the score was tied 0-0. Spain had pounded Argentina's defense, but couldn't break through. Meanwhile, Argentina was barely an offensive threat at all. The bad news kept coming for Argentina. One player was ejected for getting 2 yellow cards, so Argentina was down to just 10 men for the entirety of extra time. But even with this advantage, Spain struggled to break through. As the clock ticked excruciatingly past 100 minutes, then 105 minutes, Spain fans began to fear this final game, which their team had dominated in almost every way, might come down to a shootout. Then finally, in the 106th minute, Nico Williams headed the ball directly into the path of 26-year-old substitute Ferran Torres, who scored the game's only goal. Minutes later, Spain had secured its second ever World Cup victory. This was a disappointing end to Lionel Messi's legendary World Cup career. The Argentine holds the record for World Cup appearances and the most total goal contributions. He captained his team to victory in 2022 in Qatar but his sixth and presumably final tournament ended in heartbreak. Argentina would not become the third team ever to repeat as champions. Instead, on a baking New York summer afternoon, in front of a sea of blue and white jerseys, it was Spain lifting the FIFA World Cup trophy. That was their reward for a ruthlessly efficient tournament. Spain allowed just a single goal during its entire World Cup performance. The final game was the culmination of a competitive tournament. One fans say has been one of the most competitive, drama-filled tournaments in soccer history. The new 48-team format was a risk. There was always the possibility that the wider field would dilute the competition with one-sided, predictable games in the group round. But that's not what happened. Traditional elite sides from Europe and South America faced stiff competition in the group stage. Brazil, Uruguay, and Switzerland were held to draws by Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, respectively. Tiny Cape Verde held the eventual winner Spain to a scoreless draw in Group H. That match was a classic David versus Goliath story. Spain, the 2010 World Cup winner, was a top-ranked team with a roster full of superstars. Tiny Cape Verde, an island nation off the coast of West Africa, was ranked 67th globally. The whole country's population is about the same as Malaga, Spain's sixth largest city. But they held Spain to a 0-0 draw, led by Cape Verde's 40-year-old goalkeeper named Vozinha. Africa had a good World Cup overall. 9 out of 10 African nations advanced out of the group stage. Morocco reached the quarterfinals for the second time in as many tournaments, the first African nation to reach back-to-back quarterfinals. This was the first World Cup to have 3 host nations, and all hosts advanced out of the group stage. But the week of July 4th was a tough week to be a North American soccer fan. First, on America's birthday, Morocco defeated Canada 3-0, ending Canada's deepest run in World Cup history. The next day, July 5th, it was Mexico's turn to fall. England narrowly defeated Mexico 3-2 at Estadio Azteca. And finally, on July 6th in Seattle, Belgium dismantled the United States 4-1. The 3 host nations were eliminated on 3 consecutive days. More on that last game in a moment. By the time the semifinals started, the tournament had narrowed to 4 teams, all with solid World Cup pedigrees: Argentina, Spain, France, and England. They were the 4 highest-ranked teams in FIFA rankings coming into the tournament. This was the first World Cup semifinals to be made up entirely of FIFA's top 4 ranked teams. Just one of the semifinals games was competitive. France couldn't get anything going and lost 2-0 to Spain. But Argentina staged a dramatic comeback against England, scoring twice in stoppage time to win 2-1 and set up the final against Spain. England defeated France to take third place. This year's tournament was not without controversy, the biggest one involving, who else? Donald Trump. American Folarin Balogun was shown a red card in a game against Bosnia. A video review showed Balogun's cleat caught a defender's leg. A red card means the player is ejected from the current game and is not allowed to play in the next game. So the United States would have had to face a tough Belgium team without its leading scorer. That is, until Trump personally intervened. He called FIFA President Gianni Infantino and asked him to review the ban. FIFA's disciplinary committee deferred the suspension, allowing Balogun to play in the next game. The Belgian Soccer Federation said it was astonished at the interference. It wasn't the first time FIFA reversed a red card ban. Even Cristiano Ronaldo benefited from a similar call before the tournament. And it wasn't the first time political leaders lobbied for an on-the-field change in the World Cup. In 1962, presidents of Chile and Peru both petitioned FIFA to overturn a red card ban against a Brazilian player. And this red card wasn't clear-cut. Even before Trump's intervention, U.S. fans and plenty of neutral observers thought the red card was unfair. Still, Trump's personal intervention was enough to convert most of the world into Belgium fans, if only for one day. And the Belgian team didn't disappoint. They won that next game 4-1. Balogun wasn't a major factor in the game. Speaking of Belgium, Jeremy Doku's wife was pregnant and expected to give birth during the tournament 9,000 kilometers from Belgium's training base in Los Angeles. Television commentators urged him to skip the birth and stay with the team. One analyst said that fathers are useless at a birth anyway. That earned the female analyst a suspension. But Doku made it work, missing just one game, but arriving to see the birth of his son, named Praise. He made it back into the U.S. in time to play his next game in Seattle. Global sports tournaments are a time to see cultural differences, both on and off the field. Japanese fans surprised their hosts by staying behind after the game had ended to clean up their section of the stands. The players did the same, leaving their locker rooms spotless after their World Cup matches. And in heavily Catholic Mexico, a church in the Tacuba neighborhood of Mexico City has a tradition dating back to 1970. They dress up a statue of the Christ child in a green, white, and red national soccer jersey. This year, the Metropolitan Cathedral in the city's historic center took up the tradition. Mexicans lined up to pray for success on the field. Even Colombia's fans got into the mix, going to the same cathedral to pray before their team's matches. I watched the final game. I'm not much of a soccer fan, but I will say I enjoyed the final game. Probably followed it more, probably enjoyed it more than any other soccer game I've watched. So who knows? Maybe this will get me to watch some more games in the future. Well, that's it for us today. This was episode number 885 of Plain English. So the transcript and practice exercises are at plainenglish.com/885. We'll be back next week with a new story. See you then. Listen up if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.